Hello and welcome. I am Pranay Upadhyay and you are watching Namaste World, your daily window into the biggest stories shaping India and the world. We begin in America. US President Donald Trump has reportedly invited India to join a proposed board of peace to guide Gaza post-war governance and reconstruction. Back in South Asia, as UAE President Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan landed in New Delhi, the visit highlights a rapidly deepening strategic partnership spanning trade, defense, energy, and global geopolitics. US President Donald Trump is threatening tariffs over Greenland, pushing the European Union towards its never-used anti-coercive instrument. But the biggest news of the day: exiled Crown Prince Reza Pahlavi says he will return to Iran, outlining a radical post-regime vision amid continuing unrest. All that and more. Global flashpoints, power plays and stories that matter. Coming up in this edition of Namaste World. In a dramatic new video message, Iran's exiled Crown Prince Reza Pahlavi has boldly declared that he will return to Iran amid ongoing unrest. He described the current struggle as one between occupation and liberation, claiming the Iranian people have called on him to lead the nation forward. Pahlavi outlined a sweeping vision for a post-regime Iran, immediately ending the country's nuclear weapons program, halting all support for terrorist groups, normalizing relations with the United States and recognizing Israel, and expanding the Abrahamic Accord into a new Cyrus Accord for lasting regional peace. This comes as sporadic protests continue across Iran, though authorities say recent violent demonstrations have been largely contained. Tensions remain high in Iran, with Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei accusing the United States of destabilizing the country and President Masoud Pezeshkian warning that any attack on the Supreme Leader would trigger an all-out war against the Iranian nation. In a bold diplomatic twist, US President Donald Trump has reportedly invited India to join a powerful international board of peace to oversee Gaza's post-war governance and reconstruction, placing New Delhi at the heart of the high-stake Middle East initiative. Is India ready to assume a global mediator's role amid competing alliances? Here's a report by Rudrashish Kanjilal.
In a bold and diplomatic move, US President Donald Trump has reportedly invited India to join a proposed international board of peace, tasked with guiding Gaza's post-war governance and reconstruction. This comes as part of Trump's 20-point comprehensive plan aimed at stabilizing the conflict-hit territory and steering it toward long-term governance. So, is India now stepping into the center of a high-stakes Middle East peace initiative? According to White House sources, the Board of Peace will serve as the central strategic body overseeing Gaza's post-war transition. Chaired personally by Trump, the board will focus on capacity building in governance, regional engagement, reconstruction, and mobilization of international funding. Confirmed members include heavyweights such as US Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Trump's special negotiator Steve Witkoff, Jared Kushner, former UK Prime Minister Tony Blair, financier Mark Rowan, and World Bank President Ajay Banga. The structure reportedly consists of a main board chaired by Trump, a Palestinian technocrat committee to govern Gaza, and an executive board with an advisory role. India's inclusion is being seen as strategically significant. New Delhi maintains strong ties with both Israel and Palestine, balancing its strategic partnership with Israel with a record of humanitarian support to Palestinians. India was among the first nations to send aid to Gaza via Egypt after the recent conflict escalated, highlighting its active regional engagement. Israeli envoy to India, Reuven Azar, had previously emphasized that Pakistan would not be acceptable for any future role in Gaza. Yet, Islamabad has also reportedly received an invitation. Global reactions to Trump's initiative remains cautious. The Board of Peace, formed on January 15, is being eyed as a potential template for resolving other international conflicts. However, only Hungary has publicly accepted the invitation so far, while around 60 countries are reportedly considering participating quietly. Diplomats caution that the initiative could undermine the UN's traditional role, and the White House has not clarified the responsibilities of individual board members. On the other hand, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's office has expressed concern, saying that board's composition had not been coordinated with Israel and contradicted its policy, particularly due to Turkey and Qatar's involvement. India now faces a delicate balancing act, participating in a global peace initiative while navigating its long-standing ties with Israel and Palestine. Trump's Board of Peace may redefine Gaza's post-war recovery and potentially set a precedent for resolving other conflicts worldwide. The question now is, will India step up as a key mediator, or will geopolitical tensions limit its role? With Rudrishish Kanjilal, Bureau Report, India Today Global.
As Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan landed in India, the visit can spotlight how New Delhi and the United Arab Emirates have forged one of India's most strategic and future-oriented partnerships, spanning trade, defense, energy, and geopolitics. Is this alliance becoming a model for 21st century diplomacy? Here is a report by Farhan Khan.
When UAE President Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan lands in Delhi on January 19th, it won't be a routine diplomatic visit. It will underline how India and the UAE have quietly built one of India's most consequential strategic partnerships in the past decade. India and the UAE share centuries-old trading links across the Arabian Sea, but today the relationship goes far beyond commerce. It now spans trade, energy, defense, technology, finance, and even global geopolitics. The real game changer was the Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement, or CEPA, signed in 2022. Since then, trade has surged. In just the first half of 2025, non-oil bilateral trade touched nearly $38 billion, marking a sharp year-on-year jump. Both sides are now aiming for $100 billion in non-oil trade by 2030. An ambitious but increasingly realistic target. CEPA has slashed tariffs on thousands of goods. Indian exporters in engineering, pharmaceuticals, electronics, and manufacturing have gained easier access to Gulf markets. At the same time, UAE sovereign funds and companies have stepped up investments in India's infrastructure, startups, logistics, and renewable energy sectors. The UAE is now India's seventh largest foreign investor, with over $22 billion invested since 2000. Energy remains central to the relationship, with the UAE a key supplier of crude oil and LNG. But the partnership is also becoming future-facing. India and the UAE are experimenting with rupee-dirham trade settlements and have integrated India's UPI digital payment system in the Emirates, reducing reliance on the US dollar. Strategically, defense and security cooperation is deepening. Joint military exercises, maritime coordination in the Indian Ocean, and high-level defense visits reflect growing trust. Earlier this month, India's army chief traveled to the UAE to expand military engagement, a sign of how seriously both sides view regional security. A major pillar of the relationship is people-to-people ties. Over 3.5 million Indians live and work in the UAE, forming one of the largest and most influential Indian diasporas anywhere in the world. Their contribution has been repeatedly acknowledged by UAE's leadership. Looking ahead, India and the UAE are also aligning on global initiatives, from India's BRICS presidency in 2026 to mega connectivity projects like the India-Middle East-Europe Economic Corridor. In a world marked by geopolitical uncertainty and power politics, the India-UAE partnership stands out as pragmatic, mutually beneficial, and forward-looking, driven not by coercion, but by shared interests and strategic trust. With Farhan Khan, Bureau Report, India Today Global.
US President Donald Trump wants Greenland, threatening sweeping tariffs on European nations to force concessions while the European Union weighs its never-used anti-coercion instrument, a powerful economic counter-strike that could reshape transatlantic trade. Will Europe finally pull the trigger? Here's a report by Dibangana Datta.
Donald Trump wants Greenland.
If we don't take Greenland, Russia or China will. And I'm not letting that happen. We're talking about acquiring, not leasing, not having it short term. We're talking about acquiring. And if we don't do it, Russia or China will. And that's not going to happen when I'm president. Well, we have bases on Greenland. Yeah. I could put a lot of soldiers there right now if I want, but you need more than that. You need ownership. You really need title, as they say in the real estate business.
And he's threatening 10% tariffs on 8 European nations to get it. But Europe has a weapon it's never used before: the anti-coercion instrument. Think of it as EU's nuclear option. The question is, will they actually pull the trigger? The anti-coercion instrument took effect in late 2023, designed specifically for moments like this, when foreign powers use economic pressure to bully EU members into changing policies. It was born from the first Trump administration's trade wars and China's targeting of Lithuania over Taiwan. But here's the catch: it's never been used. Until now, it's been purely a deterrent sitting on a shelf. So what can the ACI actually do? It's not just counter tariffs. We are talking about a 10-point arsenal that could hit America where it hurts. The EU could lock US companies out of $2 trillion worth of public contracts. Everything from construction to defense procurement. They could restrict access for US tech giants like Amazon, Microsoft, Netflix and Uber in the services sector, where America runs a massive surplus. They could curb US foreign investment, the world's largest in Europe, restrict intellectual property protections, limit access to financial markets, even block American chemicals and food products from EU shelves. But here's where it gets complicated. Activating the ACI isn't quick or easy. The European Commission needs up to 4 months to investigate. Then EU members vote, requiring a qualified majority, a higher bar than simple tariffs. Consultations follow. Response measures take another 6 months. We are looking at up to a year-long process, though it could be fast-tracked in emergencies. Right now, France is pushing hard to activate it. Germany and other major states are considering it. But there's hesitation. Ireland's Prime Minister calls it premature. Italy's Meloni, closer to Trump, calls his threats a mistake but is urging dialogue. The reality? This could escalate into a full-blown transatlantic trade war. The EU has the weapon. The question is whether they have the will to use it, or if Trump's betting they'll blink first. For now, Europe says it won't be blackmailed, but actions speak louder than words. With Debagna Datta, Bureau Report, India Today Global.
As we wrap up today's show, here's a quick look at the top stories making waves around the world. European Union ambassadors have agreed to step up diplomatic pressure on Donald Trump over threatened Greenland-linked tariffs, while quietly preparing retaliation if negotiations fail. An Iranian official claimed at least 5,000 people died during protests in Iran, blaming armed rioters and foreign-backed groups for widespread violence. China's population declined over fourth consecutive year in 2025 as record low birth rates deepen concern over aging and economic slowdown. And that brings us to the end of today's edition of Namaste World. From breakthrough in technology and business to political developments and natural disasters. Stay tuned as we bring you the latest updates, key developments and more from New Delhi to New York. See you again tomorrow, same time, right here on Namaste World.